Welcome to History Decoded. Imagine standing on the brink of freedom. It's 1781, and after years of intense battles, the American colonies have one final chance to defeat the British and claim independence. This moment, known as the Battle of Yorktown, was a daring, last-ditch effort by the American and French forces to end the Revolutionary War. If they succeeded, it would mean the birth of a new nation. But if they failed, it could mean the end of the American Revolution itself. The Battle of Yorktown wasn't just a fight, it was a strategic gamble. General George Washington led a Continental Army that was often outnumbered, poorly supplied, and worn down by years of conflict. The British, under General Lord Charles Cornwallis, had moved south, hoping to crush the rebellion from Virginia. Cornwallis, seeing Yorktown as a stronghold, settled his forces in this port town, confident the British Navy would support him if needed. But Washington saw an opportunity to surround Cornwallis and finally end the British occupation. Key to Washington's plan was his alliance with the French. Since 1778, the French had been supporting the Americans, but now they were fully committed. French General Rochambeau and Admiral de Grasse brought not only thousands of French soldiers, but also naval strength, a game-changer for Washington. Together, they crafted a plan. Washington would lead his men on a stealthy march from New York to Virginia, while the French Navy cut off the British from Chesapeake Bay. The goal? Trap Cornwallis at Yorktown, by land and sea. But the plan was risky. Cornwallis's forces outnumbered the Americans, and any delay or mishap could spell disaster. In late August 1781, Washington's troops began their march south. The march itself was a testament to their resilience. Thousands of soldiers trekked over 300 miles, disguising their true destination by making it appear they were heading to New York. By mid-September, Washington's army arrived at Yorktown, joining forces with Rochambeau's troops. Meanwhile, de Grasse's fleet had defeated the British Navy, securing control of the Chesapeake Bay and sealing off any escape for Cornwallis. On September 28th, the siege of Yorktown began. Washington's forces positioned themselves just outside Yorktown, slowly closing in. By early October, they were ready to begin the bombardment. Artillery fire echoed through the fields as the Franco-American forces fired relentlessly on British positions. Washington and Rochambeau ordered their men to dig trenches each night, creeping closer to the British lines. For days, Yorktown shook with the force of cannon fire. British troops inside the town, under the constant barrage, struggled to hold their defenses. Cornwallis, realizing the gravity of his situation, hoped for reinforcements from the British fleet, but none came. The Franco-American forces were relentless, gradually tightening their grip. On October 9th, Washington and Rochambeau launched an intensified artillery assault. British fortifications crumbled under the relentless bombardment, and morale within Yorktown began to weaken. Realizing his defenses were collapsing, Cornwallis attempted a night attack on the Franco-American trenches, hoping to stall their advance. The raid was daring, but it ultimately failed, and the American and French forces continued to close in. Then, on October 14th, the Americans launched a critical assault on the British redoubts, key defensive positions protecting Yorktown. Alexander Hamilton led a night assault on Redoubt 10, while French forces attacked Redoubt 9. Both redoubts fell, leaving Cornwallis's troops exposed. With their defenses nearly gone, the British were now surrounded with no path to escape. By October 17th, Cornwallis realized his position was hopeless. The siege had worn his troops down, supplies were dwindling, and morale was at its lowest. Desperation drove Cornwallis to attempt a night evacuation across the York River, but a sudden storm scattered his boats, forcing his troops back. With no options left, Cornwallis sent a message to Washington asking for terms of surrender. On October 19th, the British formally surrendered. In a historic ceremony, Cornwallis's soldiers laid down their arms, symbolizing the end of British rule over the American colonies. In keeping with military custom, the British band played a melancholy tune, and British officers handed over their swords. The Franco-American victory at Yorktown was complete, marking the last major battle of the American Revolutionary War. The impact of Yorktown was immediate. News of Cornwallis's surrender reached Britain, where shockwaves rippled through Parliament. With public support for the war fading and their military resources stretched thin, the British government began peace negotiations. 2 years later, in 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, formally recognizing the independence of the United States. For the American colonies, Yorktown was more than a victory. It was the realization of a dream. The young nation, forged in struggle, would go on to build a new identity, one rooted in the ideals of freedom, democracy, and resilience. Yorktown stands as a testament to the power of unity and perseverance. It was a battle that could have gone differently, one with risks at every turn. But the alliance between American and French forces, the skillful leadership of Washington and Rochambeau, and the indomitable spirit of the Continental Army brought about an outcome that changed history. Today, Yorktown remains a symbol of courage and determination, reminding us of the sacrifices made for freedom. It is where the American Revolution reached its climax, and a nation took its first steps toward independence.